could potentially work.
Yeah, and in general, Kassadin taken away by the red side, almost a standard these days, has not really shown itself, as you mentioned. What was it, 48 games banned now, I believe it is, in the LCS in Europe alone.
This will be 49. 49 games featured in 49 out of 50. So,
wow.
Yeah.
They really don't like him, bless him. Pantheon banned out, taking that away from Jankos. No shock there. He has played fantastic on it. Renekton also taken away from Zoro0. Big champion for him. But Thresh taken away from Vanda. He was MVP last week on that champion. No shock there.
Roccat now decide, do they want to ban Elise or Annie? If they want to ban the Annie away, Vanda has played Morgana in the past. He can go to a comfortable pick. If they leave both of them open and ban something else, it means Roccat have maybe set their sights on one of those champions. So knowing that there's the big picks are still up and available, Trundle, for example, is still there. We'll see what they prioritize.
Well, Annie was the final ban for Roccat, taking that off Edward, and that means Elise is left open. The question is, does Alberto want it straight away? We saw it first picked last game by Millennium, and this time around it's going to be Gambit to take it.
Yeah, there's no real surprise on that pick. The strength of Elise is very, very good. The one thing that we need to keep our eye on now, though, is how does Gambit wrap the rest of their composition around this? Gambit are going to need to look for some form of initiation, and I expect that to be maybe a Leona. We've been hearing things that Edward has been playing some Leona in some scrims and in solo queue, so we got to keep that in mind as it is available. And I like the fact that Roccat are looking at very strong picks, but they haven't locked them in just yet.
Well, Jankos went 4-0-8 on that Olaf. You mentioned it earlier on. He is considering it, but actually going to leave it open. They don't need to go for Fury.
You took the words out my mouth. Because of the fact that Elise was locked in, there's no rush on securing that jungle champion. What it also does is it allows Roccat to maybe even tailor the jungle pick depending on what the rest of Gambit locks in. If Gambit now start counting on the fact that, hey, Olaf is a consideration, maybe it allows Roccat to counter pick that one. The Trundle and the Lucian, just super powerful picks. Lane Bully is for the Lucian. Trundle, we've seen how effective it is, how we can scale into the late game. Youngbuck did phenomenal in the previous match, and I'm expecting Zaz to do similar.
Well, we see the Shyvana locked in. That's going to be for Zoro0. This surprised me because last week we saw Mima pulling out the Lissandra up against that Trundle, and we know from the summer of 2013, Zoro0 certainly can play that champion Lissandra.
Yeah, he definitely can, and I wonder if the thinking behind that is more to avoid going for double AP comp that requires a lot of synergy. In order for those compositions to work off, you've got squishier champions, it's more difficult to effect in a team fight. Gambit aren't going to have that level of calling or coordination necessarily. What I also like is Zoro0 is on a champion that can make an impact. Yes, Shyvana took some hits in this patch, but she's still going to bully Trundle, still going to be a split-pushing monster, and has the ability to disrupt the backline team fights of Roccat.
Well, of course, Shyvana and Caitlyn were picked out there. We're just waiting for the final choices from Roccat. It is Morgana and Lee Sin currently hovered over. And waiting to see, of course, Vandalife has played Morgana. 2 out of 2 so far. Could it be 3 out of 3? Lee Sin also locked in for Jankos.
I'm not surprised by that pick at all. Morgana is Vanda's #2 champion pick. Every time Thresh is either banned or first picked or taken away from him, he trains to it. What I like about the Morgana is you have got a fairly safe initiation power with that Dark Binding. It is a very long range route. And what I also like is the power that you have in terms of defending engages. When champions like Elise and Shyvana dive on you, you throw those Soul Shackles out and it makes your team fight strength very, very powerful, allowing you to stay back, stay safe, and stun people up.
Well, my name Zed has been locked in for Nukeduck in this mid lane. It's a champion we saw played so successfully for Nukeduck during the summer of 2013 for Ninjas in Pajamas, and he's going to pull it out here up against Overpower.
I'm happy to see Nukeduck going onto an assassin champion. It is very powerful. It's also going to be able to get multiple kills here. Other than Trundle, everybody else so far for the Roccat squad is actually very, very squishy. So there is kill potential, there is roam potential, and we've seen Zed fall a little bit out of favor, but he didn't necessarily lose a large amount of power. He still has the ability to just insta-gib anybody with that death mark.
An interesting support pick as well. Lulu picked up for Eddie there. That's doing a dual purpose. That's taking it away from Overpower and also giving it to Edward.
Part of the reason for this is because of the amount of support bans. With the Thresh gone, the Annie gone, the only real alternatives was the Leona or the Lulu. And the Lulu's going to be a little bit more of a reactive pick. It also signals that Gambit have got an incredibly powerful split-pushing team. Shyvana can split push, Zed can split push, and they can allow themselves to go for like a 1-3-1 setup. If any team knows how to do that, or maybe how to play it or play against it, it's going to be Roccat. It's what they've been doing many times.
Well, you say that, it may well actually be purposely picked into it because they know that's what they're expecting to come out from Roccat. They know Zaz is going to be doing that. You can see teleport on him already, and we've seen Vander doing it successfully before. With that, Ziggs finally locked in for him. It is a champion we haven't seen so heavily on him, but it's a champion they value highly.
The one thing I do want to remind everybody about Overpowered Ziggs in particular, he was the first person that built that Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. He got himself 1,600 gold in bonus gold from that Spirit passive, farming up jungle camps. And if you are dealing with a split push team like a Shyvana, like a Zed in the mid to late game, Ziggs is one of the best champions, arguably the best champion, at controlling those waves. Once again, reminder, this is 4.1, so the damage on his Hextech Minefield as well as his Mega Inferno Bomb is still dealing full damage to minions and creeps, which allows him to control the waves, control the tempo of those lanes incredibly. No super strong initiation from either of these teams in this particular match.
We'll see how this one develops. Roccat, of course, top of the league on a massive win streak. We'll see whether that gets stopped by Gambit, a team that they took down in week 2. And as the players ready themselves for battle, let's check in and see how you voted on this one. On LoleEsports.com, it says the numbers are 56% for Roccat. So the fans are going with Roccat.
So I think that a large portion of our fan base may not have been aware of the roster swaps up until this very moment, unless you're actually looking for the information.
Of course, yeah.
It was very late announced. I do not think that is a testament at all.
Well, it was leaked very early, but it was announced very late.
Correct, yes. Officially was not confirmed until quite literally about an hour before we went on air. I think Roccat have got an immense advantage purely on communication, on calling, and on teamwork. They are a team. Gambit is a mix. Admittedly, multiple members of Gambit have played together online in different competitions, but I don't know if it's going to hold up, especially with Nuketuck on the stage. He's not got a good record.
Well, Eddie and Subs, apparently, is what the team is going to be called, so we'll see how that works out for them as we move into the game. Starting off for Game 2. It is going to be Gambit up against Roccat. Gambit will be starting as the blue team, and Roccat, of course, as the red team. We'll see how this one progresses, because Gambit, they could cause themselves a giant upset. And you know what? If they were to go and win 2-0 this week, what sort of pressure would that put on towards Roccat?
It would be very, very big indeed. We do have to remind once again, like you touched on in the pregame, Roccat did have a couple of days off leading up to this week. We've seen a feature on them as they were getting ready to move into their gaming house, and I believe now that they are starting to settle down. We'll see if the slightly less intense practice regime affects them in this game. But you do have to give them a massive advantage against this Gambit in Pajamas mixed team.
The Gambits in pajamas. What sort of pajamas would there be, I wonder? Some sort of Russian red pajamas. It'd have to be the red swag outfit of Darian, surely.
No doubt in my mind. That would be the ideal situation for them. As we see, once again, defensive start from both of these teams, covering the entrances to their lanes, and we're not seeing anything super fancy happening. I really want to watch the duo lanes matchup because it's two supports we don't often see against each other.
Ironically, you mentioned that, the fact that they are like that, but I should point out, Alex has actually been caught out a couple of times in this level 1 and been first blooded. Gambit themselves, is it 9 out of 12 games they've given up first blood, I believe? It's a crazy stat for Gambit. And look what's going on here. They have 3 members down the bottom tribush.
I wonder if they want to go for the blue invade or if they're trying to set up a kill. Hilberto right now, along with Fury and Edward, have grouped up very nicely. Volatile spiraling for vision, and they're just going to steal this blue buff away. We do also see that Zoro securing his own blue buff. That's going to make life for Zaz so difficult in the top lane once Zoro returns there, thanks to all that cooldown reduction.
Zoro, of course, he's going to take that blue buff for Willie. He's struggling out on it here. He may or may not take this blue buff down if it lands a couple more crit hits. Will he get it? Oh, he's so low, but he gets it just in the end there. He will, of course, back away, and he'll return full health and level 2.
All in caps, calculated from Zoro. Definitely tried that one a few times before. Didn't want to give up a kill to a big mob. He's going to return to lane with a decent XP, and as I said, for the next couple of minutes, along with that cooldown reduction, could apply a lot of pressure to Zaz's. thanks to the fact that Alberto was able to steal the blue buff from Jankos, it's also going to delay him getting to level 3, level 4, and going for any sort of double buff invade. So very good play from Gambit, showing because of the fact that they don't necessarily have the strongest late game team fights, they've worked and they've thought about their early game decision making.
Well, of course, you know, the fact is it brings a bit of innovation that sometimes you may not see from Gambit, despite the fact they are one of the most innovative teams. We actually haven't seen that for quite a while during the LCS from Gambit themselves. Should also point out Zoro Zero started out with that Doran's Blade instead of the Doran's Shield, which generally the top laners would go for. We'll see how that develops at the moment. Of course, he does mean he fell behind in terms of CS, but you can't really count that because he got that blue buff gold.
And also because of the fact that Shyvana's going to do fairly well against Trundle in these early stages of the game, the early laning phase, Zoro should be able to make this up and potentially even punish Xaxus. Zoro's going to be able to invade the jungle of Roccat, get some vision downs, and maybe even go for some double golem steals, which is what we've seen Shyvana's do many, many times in the past. The interesting matchups between here is going to be seeing how Nukeduck deals with Overpower. If Nukeduck is able to get onto Overpower's Ziggs, there is kill potential at 6 because, yes, Ziggs is going to have that satchel charge to try and distance them, but Nukeduck can just follow it through with a well-tamed Deathmark. So a lot of pressure on Nukeduck to outplay Overpower if he wants to go for kills.
Nukeduck on that Zed can go very aggressive on Overpower. Overpower's definitely going to play this one at a long distance because he doesn't want to get caught out by that Zed, especially when he hits level 6. As it stands at the moment, quick 90 caliber net and Piltover. Peacemaker catching on towards Sulliver. Sulliver himself, we haven't heard from so far on the interview desk. It's not through lack of trying, he's just not put himself out there really willing to when you've got the likes of Vanda and Jankos in your team just stealing the limelight from him, and yet we should really highlight the fact that Sulliver has been one of the shining lights for Roccat. He's really not put a foot wrong in any of the team fights. No,
Sulliver's positioning and decision making in all stages of the game is absolutely superb. And I actually think it's in part due to the fact that he's got such great synergy with Vanda. They work very well together, they always seem to hold even or even win their lanes, and we'll see what Alberto can do from behind.
We do see the Dark Shield going on towards him. Will it be enough, that Black Shield? No. Cocoon will not land because, well, that was an easy dash out from Sulliver. No ability powers used.
Just the relentless pursuit from Sulliver. Manages to dodge the skill shot, gets away. Even if the glitter lance are connected from Edward, Lucian is well equipped. He can get rid of any slows thanks to his E. So it's going to be difficult for Gambit to get kills unless they get the jump on Sulliver and Vanda. And that's also going to be compounded by the Black Shield. It blocks single target CCs and magic damage. It's an interesting lane because it's very poke heavy from both sides, and I almost feel like it's going to become very farm based because both teams are well equipped to deal with their opponents. So we'll see how Fury and Sulliver deal with the next couple of minutes.
Lots of pings down that bottom lane. Jankos was showing himself down there, but they have the vision of Alberto, who has started out pretty well here. He went aggressive early on, get that Spirit Stone out there with the boots, so he's ahead in farm over Jankos right now. Or well, in terms of CS, you see it looks differently, but the fact that he went and got that blue buff and stole it away does tell us he's going to have that gold advantage over Jankos right now. Vanda throwing out that Dark Binding, not going to land it on towards Fury. Fury is a player we've not seen a great deal of. This is the first showing, of course, in the LCS. Some of you guys may not have seen him before. He was going to stand in for Ninjas in Pajamas during the second promotion playoff when Zoro Zero forgot to patch.
Yeah, so he was going to stand in and play, and as we said already, Fury has got experience with the members of Ninjas in Pajamas. We'll see how he performs. As it stands, he's got a small CS lead over Sulliver. However, the wave is pushing towards Sulliver, so he'll get close up. Vanda is in a little bit of trouble. Can't get slowed by Glitter Lance, and Edward fired that way too soon.
Yeah, just showed his hand right there, and Vanda quite happy to just stroll on down, put on that Black Shield, and just walk on back, knowing that Edward really could do nothing against him. We do see Vampire Acceptor being picked up, Dark Binding flashing past Edward. Sulliver was the one that went back and bought that. We'll see how that progresses, because that's going to give him the advantage in Fury. Well, he's trying to buy himself some time to back away here. You can see he's going to back off. We'll see whether Roccat push or stay.
Yeah, Vanda's giving himself a big psychological advantage in this lane. He's pushing onto both Fury and Edward, throwing down that Black Shield as often as possible to reduce the damage, but he hasn't landed a Dark Binding, which has allowed Sulliver to deal damage yet. We'll see if he does connect. Jankos is going to get his first taste of Invade right now as Alberto is going to be sandwiched. But the red goes to Alberto.
Alberto gets it, but it's a 3-on-1. Wow, big power damage straight away onto him. No problem there for Overpower. Quick first blood.
Nukeduck just responded too late. We've seen him moving to the mid lane, but he simply didn't get there in time. And Gambit, They made the invade. Alberto started that one off. Zoro0 was low on HP, and thanks to Overpower just getting in there very quickly, easy first blood for Roccat, and the red buff secured for Nukeduck. So this is going to allow him to put even more pressure on Nukeduck in this lane.
The problem is Zoro0 was already low. The Subjugate had already been used by Zaz as the ultimate for Trundle in that top lane, so really didn't want to get involved in it. We do see the Dragon's Descent being used by Zoro0, just pushing that lane, trying to get on towards Zazas, trying to force him back so he can buy himself some time to back away. We did see Zazas, of course, went back very early on, got himself Endurance Blade along with that shield, being a proper warrior in the top lane. Blue buff going across to Overpower. This time around, it is going to be Rockats.
So blue buff secured. We got a lot of members pulled up for that one. You actually see both Sullivan and Vando came up from the bottom lane. Even though they were farming up that white, they were looking for a kill. Nukeduck is going to get some poke onto Overpower. That's actually very good damage, landing both that Shadow Slash as well as the Shadow Shuriken. Works in his favor.
Well, when you do walk straight past that Living Shadow, it's kind of opening yourselves up for that damage. We did see Fury going back, just dodging out that Dark Binding once again. He picked himself up a BF sword, so he's got a lot of damage in this lane phase, and he's going to need it up against Sullivan.
It's going to give him an advantage right now because of the fact that Sullivan doesn't actually have the same amount of on-hit damage, but as it stands, it is just a very farm-heavy lane between the two of them. Nukeduck is just going to grab himself that blue, waited for his E to come off cooldown. Again, just slightly slower lane phase. We talked in the pregame how I feel that if Gambit do not actually grab themselves a strong advantage in the laning phase, I really don't see them out-rotating or out-team fighting Roccat. So we need to see what Alberto's going to do. He's invaded blue, worked out. Invaded red, gave up first blood, and now Alberto's just sat back in lane. On the same token, Jankos has been just a farmer right now. He hasn't gone for any ganks.
Roccat starting it slow up against a Gambit team. You know, in the lane phase, it doesn't matter really who is in the team if they are strong in lane. It's when they pull together as a team. That's when the teamwork may well start being a little bit different between these two. So don't read too much into this lane phase. We're expecting it to actually go fairly even because despite the fact it's 4 substitutes, these are all very highly skilled substitutes.
Yeah, and talking about the players, Zoro0 has now grabbed himself a small CS lead over Zazas. He's got himself that Bilgewater Cutlass, so if he decides to play aggressively now, he could actually jump onto Zazas and apply some kill potential with the use of that Ignite. Vanda, can he connect with the Dark Binding? No, he cannot. And Jankos is going to be forced to back away. That minion, very unhappy with his damage right now.
Flash ulti coming out there is not going to pull off though. Instead, they're all going to back away. He's going to try and go in. Jankos could not get the other side of Edward there, quickly using that wild growth to keep him away.
So one flash connects. They've got Edward now.
Oh, Dark Binding this time didn't land, but the kick did, and Edward's going to get taken low. One more shot should do it. Sullivan takes the kill.
Very well played. Edward should not have gone in that quickly. I think he wasn't anticipating the re-engage from members of Roccat and was forced to... He just gave up a kill. The one thing that was smart from Roccat is they burned 1 flash from Vanda for 2 from Gambit. Now, all of a sudden, Alberto's moving to the top lane. They want to dive Zazas.
Zoro0 taking very low, though. He can't tank this one out. That's going to be a Mega Inferno bomb coming in. He just dodges out of it. Doesn't quite get the shot. The tower's not landed on him. Alberto quickly repelled away and tanked that one out. Very nicely combined by Gambit.
And that is how you punish a Trundle in lane. When you have a champion that can get kills, has an Ignite, and is able to get damage down, you combo out with your jungler, get a kill onto Zazas. The minions should also even take this tower out, and that is a very good swing now for Gambit.
And just going back towards that bottom lane, I wonder if Edward was simply caught out by the fact that Vander had put all the points in towards that Dark Binding. He's literally thrown everything in towards it, 4 points on it as the support. Maybe he wasn't quite expecting the cooldown to be as quick as it is. Eddie's going to go down, ward out that dragon. And it's a good start for Gambit despite the substitutes.
Yeah, the fact they've got the tower down against Zazas is going to open up that area of the map. I do expect Zoro0 to begin to try snowball that lead further. He's got a 30 CS lead, 25 or so CS lead, got a kill, got the tower, and we talked about how he can invade in the jungle of Roccat. Now what he needs to do is pull Alberto and Nukeduck with him. The rest of them, however, they've decided to go for Dragon. This is actually a very smart call. There's no one from Roccat that can respond quickly enough, and it doesn't even look like they're going to challenge for this one. Another objective for Gambit.
So, Gambit continue that gold lead, taking that first Dragon down and continuing the Gambit style, really, taking that first objective. So, again, though, as you just pointed out to me, Overpower that Spirit of the Spectral Ray.
So he's going to once again go for the sustain, get some of that HP back from killing off monsters in the jungle. And what we did see from Roccat the last time they went for this mid laner and that itemization is they just went for the mega late game. Got to the point that Overpower was 6 items and then sold it. And this is the trade. Xaxus is going on Zoro.
Well, he's already used that build water cut this on him. Zoro has one himself, hasn't popped that ultimate, and he's just waiting for Xaxus to go a little bit lower. Does have a ward down, so he knows that Jankos is around that red buff area at the moment, so knows that he's safe, but he will back off.
Zoro may have been trying to bait out the Subjugate, because the moment Zoro throws down Dragon's Descent in a Dragon's form, it's going to make Subjugate more powerful. He's going to gain more resistances and steal more away from Zoro. So if Zoro can force Xaxus to use it early in a fight and then follow it up with Dragon's Descent, Zoro can win a trade or a fight that way. So it's just going to be a timing on who can get your opponent's ultimate first.
So let's look towards that mid lane. Overpower and Nuke. Overpower very low on mana here. Trying to keep him at bay. Built perfectly in towards this lane matchup. Nuke was just hovering up there, keeping vision of Jankos, making sure he doesn't join that fight too early. And Overpower, well, he's waiting for his blue buff. Frankly, he wants Jankos to come down and get things started. Yeah,
going to be able to grab this one for himself. I also want to touch on the fact that Overpower's got the makings of an hourglass, so he's going to work his way towards some form of defense against Nuke's Deathmark. We're also going to see Celavar going towards a Quicksilver Sash at some point to, once again, get rid of that Deathmark. So we find ourselves in a situation where the blue team has a little bit of a timer on the board. We do see Dragon's Descent. That's in trouble.
Instant Subjugate, turn back around though, and Zoro may well be in trouble. We do see a good Pillar of Ice. Xaxus is going to back away. He's waiting for the timing to run out on both of these ultimates. Zoro, as soon as he gets that Burning Agony, Burnout back available. He will chase on towards Edwards and Corlick once again. He's in trouble. It should be enough to take him down. Wild Growth was popped and Celavar's taken low. Oh, Piltover doesn't quite land. Ace in the Hole's going to come through, but it only goes on Jankos. Good kick from Jankos, keeps them all at bay.
Very well played. Both Vander and Jankos are moving behind. Now Nuke wants to pick a fight. The Satchel Charge was used. Nuke decides against it. He had his Deathmark available, has got a lot of damage, but has not looked to make a kill on Overpower. And we talked about that bottom lane synergy between Vander and Celavar. They ate the Ace in the Hole, managed to get away, and the Wild Growth from Edward kept him alive. If he was a different champion, probably would have gone down.
May well have gone down. We'll see how it continues to develop down this bottom lane. Just 1,000 gold separating these two teams. Of course, Gambit did pick up the first tower and the first dragon. Or Gambit in pajamas, we're going to call him for this one. Gip.
I like that. We should have got the overlay guys to update the graphics. Just before we went into the game, we were discussing how the pace of the previous game was particularly tempered, and I feel that
that's one word I'd use for it.
We're in for another one right now. Overpower, we said already, he wants to play passive. I don't think he wants to be in a position where he can get killed by Nuke, and he's going to use the range and his pushing power to his advantage. What we have seen from Roccat, though, is a clear focus on dealing with this Edward and Fury lane. They finally grabbed themselves an even a turret to even out the turret kills, but Jankos has repeatedly ganked this bottom lane.
Well, there's the middle lane that may well be the next focus. Nuke and Alberto hovering around there, going to come in, try and get some damage down on there. We will see Overpower returning, so a complete wipe out that way. Throws out the mines, the pack, everything available, and force them back from that turret. Bottom lane, again, we see Vander backing off. Celavar's on his own right now, and it's down for Gambit to try and shove on that tower. Of course, Roccat already taken that bottom one on their own, and they're just going to play it safe.
So just very interestingly, in terms of Overpower's Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, he's already given himself a bonus 180 gold. To draw comparisons to the junglers, if you look at Alberto, he's grabbed 200 bonus gold from his Spirit of the Ancient Golem, and on the other side, Jankos 220. You see Jankos getting caught out by Nuke there. Part of the reason Overpower can get so much bonus gold is he allows it to stack up. He's not continually killing large monsters, so he's always going to have that the maximum bonus gold that he can get, and allows him to, stay even and grab himself to a quicker 6-minute build. I think we hit it at about 35 minutes the last time I seen it. I'm straining my memory here.
Well, we're up to level 12 and we're still yet to see Nuke going all in, biding his time up against Overpower. We've seen him doing this before, I feel. Not to great success. We'll see how it develops for him. Zoro himself, he's coming around, going to try and take away those golems, but Xaxus has other ideas and tries to force him away and just continues out to farm it. But Zoro really is starting to put on a farming session here. This is, again, hesitant to say, something we've seen before.
Yeah, 0-0 is going to go in on Xaxus though.
Dragon Descent being used, but Xaxus will just back away. Didn't use his Subjugate. He has got it available. He's just trying to buy time. Overpower flashes past the ward. Now 0-0 realizes what's happening. He's going to back away.
It's so difficult to catch a Shyvana with that burnout. Her movement speed is so high. Even though Xaxus has got that Pillar of Ice, it's not actually going to be enough to really hold Zoro in place long enough. What we are seeing from both of these teams, though, is that the Dragon is now up. You see both of them moving towards the position. Roccat are going to be aware of the time, and they're going to get themselves in a position to challenge for this one. Bloodthirster and Greaves are completed for Salivar. The Hourglass has been completed for Overpower. So the kill potential from Nukeduck is already significantly lowered. So Nukeduck has missed this opportunity where he could have gotten kills, and we'll see how he decides to play out these next few minutes.
Well, pick wards were picked up by Roccat. There's one being used. Gambit trying to clear this one out, but Roccat want to fight it. Teleport coming in on towards the Death Bush ward. You can see Nukeduck getting caught out. Satchel charge. Nukeduck's going to get taken down. Now they go in straight on towards it. Dragon still yet to go down. Jankos will secure that one. 0-0 having to flash away from this one, and now it's going to be Hulberto focused on Darkbind. He will not catch on him, and he will back away. 2 kills and a Dragon.
That is exactly what we talked about here from the side of Roccat. Because of the fact that they have slightly better communication and calling, they responded to that Dragon perfectly. Gambit were a little bit out of position. They didn't have the numbers tightly knit. And of course, Nukeduck was caught up. Now Vander is in trouble.
Well, is he? That's the question. Wild Growth does go down. Vander's stun will proc off in a moment. It's going to be a Fury that goes down, and now Edward's in trouble. He's up against an AD carry. This time he's not playing as Kennen. Oh! Eddie, you sneaky little bugger, flashes through, throws down that Ignite and gets himself the kill on Vander. Worth.
Very well played by Eddie to make the best of a bad situation. I felt that Vander had been caught up, but he was playing the perfect bait right now. He managed to keep Fury and Edward in place, landed a full channel on that Soul Shackles, and thanks to the Bloodthirster and Pickaxe, we've seen Salivar grabbing himself 2 kills in that situation. Edward was able to flash over. Now there's no mana for Salivar to get away. Look for Deathmark. Nukeduck, can he catch him?
Well, was he going to wait for the Living Shadow? Nope, not going to go in for it. Had got flash, could have gone Deathmark, could have gone in. There's plenty of wards down. Not too sure why he didn't pull the trigger.
So Nukeduck didn't have boots, so he couldn't get in range. And remember that the Deathmark now leaves a shadow at the point of casting. It doesn't actually chase you there. In addition to that, I don't think that Nukeduck was aware, or maybe he knew, that barrier could have been available. So to 100-0 without being able to get a full shadow burst down, probably the smarter choice. But again, we're seeing the Z pickup. 20 minutes in, Nukeduck has done nothing. He really hasn't made an impact. We've seen no death marks, we've seen no fights. He's even on farm, which is great. And now Xaxus in a little bit of trouble.
Well, Xaxus is going to get focused on. He's going to have a Spider and a Dragon on his backside. He has got Subjugate already used. He's going to try and run away from this one, but he's going to get taken so low. He's not gone down yet and gets away. Would you believe it?
Xaxus was able to get all of that regen from the Frozen Domain, which increases his percentage healing. The Subjugate continues to drain after the initial cast, and the Blade of the Ruined King just allowing him to get out cleanly. A little bit unfortunate there for Gambit. They threw everything at it. While all that was happening, Overpower was able to grab himself a kill on Edward. We didn't quite catch that one on screen, but Roccat 6 kills to 2, 2,500 gold lead, and in a pretty good position right now.
Let's take another look at this one. Edward in the jungle up against Jankos.
Oh, this is a little bit troublesome. That is so much damage coming down from the Mega Inferno Bomb, and Jankos actually didn't even flash for that kickback. Just managing to safeguard over to a ward, kicking Edward in play, and, you know, yes, Gambit got a lot of vision, but it wasn't worth giving up that kill in that situation.
No. Completely caught out of position. Fury pushing his mid lane. He may take the turret down here. Jankos can't defend this one. Edward's in there, but look at Salivar and Vander coming down the side. They did catch out. Just Alberto showing himself, and they will take that turret down. So Gambit pull ahead in the lead in turrets, 2-1.
So they've got pretty good rotation here from Gambit, but they've just given up too many kills while trying to make it happen. 2 towers lead. All of the wards now on the red side is going to allow Gambit to continue to invade. They're diving Xaxus!
They're diving on Xaxus, and they're going to try and get on towards him. Alberto comes around, he's tanked a little too much damage, and Xaxus happy to tank that one out, but they are leaving 0-0 all alone in that top lane right now. He's just free farming.
Now we'll see how Roccat decide to respond to this. Thanks to the fact that their Bloodthirst is fully stacked for Salivar and his Last Whisper, they are going to shred this tower so quickly. Yes, they gave up some damage and some presence in the bottom lane, but as it stands right now, Jankos seems to be defending fairly well, and they managed Roccat even out the tower score in the mid lane.
Well, Zoro continues to push, continues to farm, starting to grow a bit of an advantage in this top lane. He's a top lane player that many members, professional players, rate very highly. We'll see how it works out for him, because as it is, he continues to passive farm, and you know, we do see Nukeduck in that mid lane kind of not really doing a great lot still. He's just tried to go for that one single fight. That's actually the first ultimate we've seen from him in 23 minutes. And
it was on arguably the most difficult person to try kill. We did see him throw down the death mark. I think maybe Nukeduck had assumed Alberto was closer than he actually was, because by the time the death mark had popped and Nukeduck had been tanking the tower, Alberto arrived and it was too late. What I do like from Roccat is they're leaving Lee Sin to farm. He's managing to defend that top lane tower. Zoro can't necessarily stick to Lee Sin long enough, thanks to the fact that Lee Sin's got that Dragon's Rage to get rid of him. And as it stands, Roccat garner themselves an advantage. They've got the middle and bottom towers down. It's going to allow them to get deep wards and maybe even get better control of the Dragon Pit. And we've been seeing Gambit try to get control of Rockat's red buff in that top lane area. As it stands, Rockat's strategy is working a little more effectively.
Yeah, while this is all happening, of course, let's not forget Overpower now 3-0. Got himself the Zhonya's, got himself the Void Staff, and that Spirit the Spectral Wraith very early on. With a blue pot in his bag now, ready and waiting to go. I feel that Roccat are waiting to pull a trigger on something.
They're not even waiting. Look at the mid lane. There's so many members. Xaxus realizes that Deathmark's not a big threat for him. He's challenging Nukeduck.
He's going back in once again. He's got the Subjugate available, pops it down. Is it going to be enough? Xaxus taken very low. This could be Nukeduck's first kill. The Ignite running, it should be. And Nukeduck takes it down. What advantage was gained from Roccat? I'm not sure, because Zoro Zero is closing in and Roccat in the mid lane.
Yes, Xaxus ran straight into the shadows. Had the Deathmark been thrown down and Xaxus backed away sooner, he wouldn't have eaten all of that additional shadow splash damage. Unfortunately for Xaxus, he maybe overestimated his strength right now. We do see the rest of Roccat grouped to the mid lane. In comes Zoro from the background. This could be a fight. If Zoro decides to use that Dragon's Descent, it's going to be a 4-on-4 as Nukeduck split pushes.
They're happy to take the pressure on towards them. They're pushing in towards it. Zoro Zero's still just lingering off the side, waiting time. Nukeduck's coming in from the side now. Roccat realized the danger of the situation. They're finally backing off.
That's actually smart play from Zoro. Even though he didn't pick the fight, he forces Roccat to back away. Nukeduck has started himself off this dragon. Living Shadow is available to get over the wall, and I think he's going to need to do it. He can't run the risk of being caught out. Piltover, not this time.
Not quite going to catch it out. No smite used though, actually. It was just simply Jankos getting it with basic attack, so it was possible. Blue buff going to get taken by Overpower. There was a tower taken, of course, in that bottom lane, so Gambit continuing to keep the pressure on. They've taken down more towers than Roccat in the lane phase.
So I'm pleasantly surprised at the fact that Nukeduck got that kill on Xaxus. I had actually assumed going into that fight that Xaxus was going to be able to deal with Nukeduck, but the fact that Nukeduck can kill him right now means that Gambit needs to make use of that presence. Go back to the split pushing, leave Zoro in the top lane, throw Nukeduck back down in the bottom lane, and whoever tries to challenge them is going to have a very difficult time. Xaxus runs straight over a trap, and the rest of Roccat are sieging the mid tower. Once again, Zoro looking for the flank, looking to come in from behind, but look how low the tower is.
He's going to be too late on that flank, because that tower has already gone down. Sulliver doing the final shots with Overpower alongside him. Zoro Zero way coming in behind them. They're going to try and track and descent across 4 members of Roccat. I'm not too sure that's a wise idea.
Yeah, Alberto's a little bit far away. We do see Zoro Zero is backing away. Nukeduck may be able to catch onto Overpower on the retreat. But again, the power of that burnout's very good. Even a max range Dark Binding can't really be followed up by Roccat. He's simply too far away.
Yeah, they're just keeping him at bay. They're going to catch out towards him. Zoro Zero, you're going to have to flash away from this one. The explosive pack didn't quite land. Mega Inferno bomb didn't land either. Xaxus was chasing in it. Instead, they're just going to take the blue.
Yeah, so Zoro Zero gets out with his life, taking too much poke there from Overpower. We actually seen both Edward and Zoro Zero being just dropped down by those bouncing bombs over and over. Roccat have decided to rush down this bound. They have walked over a ward, so Gambit are aware of it, but they know that Zoro's not there, and Overpower's just running interference. Nukeduck is going to have to go in very quickly. Baron's down to less than half.
Alberto's got to run in, but he's been caught out by Dark Binding. He's going to go down. There's nothing he can do about it. That is the jungler gone, and this is desperate times for Gambit. They could be losing out on this Baron. I don't see anything they can do about it. Roccat secure it.
And that's the power of the Morgana. As long as that Dark Binding does actually connect, it allows Roccat to peel away, grab themselves that kill. It's going to be a safe Baron. They've now got a 4,000 gold lead. They're even on towers. But thanks to the Baron buff, if Roccat play the siege game even further, Vander's in trouble.
Oh, no, he's not. He's just going to head back straight away from that one. The pop comes out, not enough. Black Shield will save the day. I tell her why. No managed damage on towards him as it stands. Gambit are being pushed back. You know, this is something we talked about right at the start. The pressure, the teamwork from Roccat is just forcing Gambit in all sorts of trouble. A team of solo players.
Yeah, at this point in time, even though Gambit have had a few good plays, Roccat have been able to just respond. They grabbed that Baron, even though Vander was forced so incredibly low. Thanks to that bonus hit points that he's got from the Sightstone and the Kindle Gem, he was able to survive Nukeduck's burst. And fortunately for Gambit, if nobody is being popped by Nukeduck's Zed, there's not a lot of presence that they can put down. They're going to have to rely back on the split pushing. Look, Shyvana top lane, Zed bottom lane. We're going to see this for the rest of this game.
Well, Xaxus pushing on towards Zero was fairly ineffective in the previous matchup. Zero will certainly keep pushing back on towards Xaxus. Who's got the power this time around? Xaxus doesn't feel like he has it. Instead, Zero forces him away, but it's all well and good to just be stronger and say, hey, I won my lane. But it doesn't help if you're not involved in the team fights.
Yeah, I think advantage in this fight right now would be for Zero. The fact that he's got the Sunfire Cape completed, a Kindle Gem, and he was fighting against Blade of the Ruined King and the makings of Aranduans, Xaxus is actually a little bit behind as far as gold is concerned. If you actually look at it, Xaxus is sitting on 1,800 gold right now. He hasn't actually gone back to buy in quite a long time. So we'll see what he eventually upgrades. It's going to be that Aranduans. If we go back to items, we see an item. I'm going to go on a limb and say this is the first time we've seen this in competitive play, definitely in the LCS. The Ohm Wrecker has been picked up for overpower. For those of you that don't know, the Ohm Wrecker is going to prevent a turret from attacking for a couple of seconds. So when Roccat decided to tower dive and pick fights, you just turn that turret off for a little bit, advantage Roccat.
Yeah, I don't recall any game ever seeing that for... Well, since release. I don't recall anyone playing it in solo queue, let alone anything else. Interesting pickup. Overpower always pulling out new builds. Oh, Dark Binding not quite landing on towards Edward, quickly speeding himself up to get away from that one. But right now, Roccat are just invading the jungle of Gambit, and there's not really a lot they're doing about it.
I want to see how this item actually works for Roccat. I feel like it's a little bit of understanding that if Roccat tower dive, the communication and the difficulty of dealing with the tower dive is so much harder on a mixed team. It's much more difficult to prioritize targets, to call, and to be effective in defending those. So Roccat may just try to take advantage of it. They know their strengths right now. They've grouped up once again in this mid lane, as they've done many, many times this game already. And you just see Xaxus split pushing because he's got teleports.
Yeah, just keeping on pushing that bottom lane. Top lane's now going to get driven in once again. You see Gambit having to rotate. They're going to try and quickly push out that mid lane while they leave that area, but that's going to leave them a little bit more exposed once again as that wave comes in. Zero, no Dark Binding catching on towards him. Salva gets another couple of shots on towards that tower. Every time they do this rotate, they just get themselves that little bit more advantage. Half the hit points taken off it. Xaxus is being forced away, being wild in that bottom lane by Nukeduck, but this is the top lane turret. Gone down.
Gambit don't want to pick a fight. They know they're behind. Oh, Fury's in trouble!
Mega Inferno bomb catching along with that culling forces Fury away, and now they could use that Ohm Wrecker. We'll see if it works out. They don't even need it. They're just going to take the inhibitor turret down on the road. They're going to catch on towards Edward. He just gets destroyed where he stands, and that's an inhibitor picked up by Roccat.
Roccat just brute forced their way. Now Fury's in a little bit of trouble. They've caught Alberto.
Alberto's dead. He's going down. Jankos comes in. Big kick to the face. Finishes that one off. And Sullivan, well, he's just a wrecking crew right now. Down the bottom lane, we do see Xaxus going down, but to what effect? Who cares? Nuke, you got to kill. Great, but the rest of your team, you're losing the base. There's the Ohm Wrecker. They're going to finish it off. Zero comes around. They're trying to buy some time on there, but they just walk away.
That was a very good satchel charge there from Overpower, saving the life of Salivar by knocking away Zero. Got rid of him from the sideline. The Ohm Wrecker allowed Roccat to put some damage down on the tower. It is a 2-minute cooldown before it'll be available again. But Roccat, thanks to having the Baron and thanks to being ahead in the game, were able to just force Gambit away from the tower. The long-range poker they've got with the Morgana Dark Bindings and the Ziggs bouncing bombs prevented Gambit from defending both their top inner and top inhibitor turrets.
It's now a 5-0-2 Sullivan. We talked about how we don't really hear a lot from him. Maybe it's time we do, who knows. 4-0-2 of course for Overpower as well, pulling out that Ohm Wrecker. First time we saw it used, didn't really have a great effect because Zero popped that ultimate to keep them at bay. But again, it's Roccat in control right now. They have a near 10,000 gold lead, 6 towers to 3, Baron up in 2 minutes. That's going to be the next focus.
It gets so much more difficult for Gambit to win team fights now. There's a Guardian Angel on Xaxus who has died twice now to Nukeduck. So GA is going to allow him to come back to life and potentially lifesteal some of the HP back. We see a Quicksilver Sessions on Celavar, and Overpower's had that Zhonya's Hourglass for a while. So the number of targets that Nukta can successfully kill and have a positive impact with is way less. Gambit waiting in the wins. They've got a good numbers advantage, but they took too long. They didn't initiate. They didn't have the information. There's no wards. They didn't know that Overpower was away, and they've only just got vision on Xaxus. Now Vander's going to be dead.
Vander's dead, or is he? They're going to go in for him. They're going to throw everything at him, but they could turn his back around on towards Nukedog. He tries to go in. Alberto goes aggressive. Yankos is in the hole. Catcher just glancing off his backside. Eddie eating some mines there. But really, what do they get from it? One support.
Yeah, at this point in time, Gambit needs to do that a bunch more. They need to get way more of those kills, and look at that damage from the bouncing bomb. That is so much burst.
Mega Inferno bomb, well, Culling not quite landing on towards Fury there. He's just going to be wishing he could, but instead the teleport comes in. They're going to come around the side, and here's Xaxus that climbs in towards it. They catch on towards Nukedog. Is it going to be enough? Double kill picked up by Overpower. Zoro Zero tries to go aggressive, trying to catch on towards them, and as it is, will he be going down? He's going to go towards Sullivan. Can he get the kill? The shield comes out, the barrier bait. He does not get the kill. The regen for the Baron buff, which just wore off about 2 minutes ago, actually. I tell a lie, it was just lifesteal from the Bloodthirster that was doing the job. Meanwhile, the Nexus turrets are falling, and Roccat are rolling through the base.
20 seconds on the clock, and so much damage available for them. Roccat just own-wrecker down the turret, grab themselves another inhibitor. Nuketok's going to try to defend. His death mark is up, but there's no ways he can stop 4 members of Roccat. The rest of the team, they're on the Nexus turret, and Nuketok is going to go down shortly.
And Roccat will take themselves another victory, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 5 games on the trot as they take down Gambit in pajamas once again. And they really have separated themselves at the top of the league. 10 wins, 3 losses now. They are clear from anyone else getting close to them. They are going to be #1 at the end of this week, regardless of what happens.
I'm impressed that Roccat decided not to wait. You know, they had the composition, they could have gone to late game, won it in team fights, but they decided they didn't need to. They sieged the mid lane multiple times. They forced Nuketok to respond to the split pushing of Xaxus, and Nuketok did well in dealing with Xaxus, but that didn't necessarily garner them any sort of advantage. Unfortunately, in order for Gambit to have won the game, they needed to have won the lanes.
Well, they have got Veggie as their coach now, so maybe celery was required. So Roccat, they picked themselves up yet another victory. It's something we're starting to get used to seeing here, and honestly, they're a team that are working so well together. You know, we talked about at the start the fact that they are just going to go even in lanes, which they did. They were happy to just sit back, play it patiently, and once it came to the team fight, boy, do they pull the trigger.
Yeah, and the thing is, because of the fact that Gambit didn't have a composition that had, once again, a very powerful engage, they were relying on Shyvana to jump in from the back, wild growth everybody up and be a disruptive force. That never happened, because by time 0-0 was trying to do that, they were down a Baron, they were down about 6k gold, and they weren't able to affect the team fights that they were looking for.
So you see Roccat getting themselves prepared. They have another game